I don't think it's the romanticisation of war. I think it's the romantic element within a war movie. I think if in doubt, follow the love story. That's kind of a rule of thumb as a writer that I've got, and obviously they can be harder to find in an out-and-out war movie. Obviously a lot of what we were talking about tonight was finding the emotional heart in your drama, and war films that are purely about the war. I mean, I wrote one that was very much set in conflict and there was zero context. A lot of the great war films, however, do focus on the people at the heart of it, the relationships at the heart of it, the stresses that those relationships are put under. So it's about the impact of war rather than just the fighting. Lone Survivor and Kajaki are two different films made for different reasons, for different audiences, on different budgets. I really enjoyed Lone Survivor. I feel like we were both going for a similar level of authenticity and accuracy, certainly in terms of the detail of what a modern conflict looks like and the uncomfortable situations you get into, the difficult decisions that you're forced to make. I maybe have a little issue with how that film ended versus ours. By all accounts, there was a nugget or two more dramatic license taken there than we did. But again, as I said, everybody makes films for different reasons. I certainly think that a story like Lone Survivor is an advancement in terms of how Iraq and Afghanistan movies are portrayed, tackling the difficulties, the moral difficulties of the conflict head on, and showing that it isn't all about glory. I mean, quite the opposite. Our primary audience, I think, were the guys who were there and were involved in it, and if they approved and gave the thumbs up, then we would have done our job well on that level. Secondary audience was the broader military family. In hindsight, and having talked to them, it was quite close to home and maybe not their idea of a good Friday night out, although most serving soldiers who I've seen, who I've spoken to who'd seen it, are happy with the accuracy of the portrayal. Then there was the question of would young men go and see it, as an addition to the war action film canon. That didn't happen necessarily. I think the film's possibly a little too challenging and a little short on big action sequences for them. In fact, where we finally found our audience was in the sort of the adult, cine literate audience who like interesting pieces of cinema, because I think a lot of what Kajaki does is quite different in terms of the way war movies are generally presented. And so we got a strong critical response, but not the $500 million of American Sniper. But you can't win them all. There's a moral dimension about exploiting people's suffering, and in our case, death, for entertainment. I would hope that we stayed on the right side of sensitivity there, and certainly we retain the support of those involved in the family of Mark Wright during and beyond the making of the movie. In terms of what the audience experience is during the watching of the movie, that's for each individual to say. Some will have found it uplifting, some will have found it horrifying, some will have applied their own politics and morals to the experience, and some will not. My own moral compass was set firmly towards the guys who were involved and doing right by them. At the same time, it's a piece of cinema, it's a dramatization of what went on, and individual decisions have to be discussed and settled on a case-by-case basis. But my conscience is reasonably clean with Kajaki. I think the particular war in question that is dramatized or filmed or made the subject of a movie is less relevant than what is being said about the world we live in today. So a film about the Punic Wars could be as relevant as a film about the Iraq War, depending on your particular angle. People will always be telling World War II stories, and they will always be finding modern slants on them. Kevin Loader and others were saying there's quite a lot of films at the moment about occupation and or refugees, which obviously have certain resonance to parts of today's world. I personally feel like Syria and Aleppo and Raqqa and Mosul are the wars of our time, and whether they are dramatized directly or whether they are referred to through allegorical projects, projects with reference to them, I feel like that's what's going to be coming next, because that's what's happening now.